Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back. Next bike we're working on here is a 1979 Suzuki PE250. Picked this up about 2 months ago. It was a package deal with the 83 XR200. Both of those bikes, this and the 200, were both sitting in the previous owner's garage at their camp or something for the last couple years. And the 200 didn't need a whole lot of work, so this one is looking to be shaping up to be the same way. It's mostly complete. Probably just gonna have to go through the carburetor and just make sure the inside of the fuel tank's clean. It is a plastic tank, thankfully, so I don't have to deal with rust on that one. Last couple bikes I've had with metal tanks have been nightmares with rust and holes and stuff. So it's kind of nice change of pace to get these bikes with the plastic fuel tanks. So this one here is, like I said, a 79 PE250. From what I can tell, the plastics are original. This one took a little bit of damage on the back. These might be Preston Petty reproductions with the side panels, because I think they're supposed to be yellow factory, unless these are just completely faded, which is entirely possible too. The front number plate for the headlight, I think, is also supposed to be yellow, and if you look at the back, it kind of is, so it might actually just be completely faded. But they kind of do look like Preston Petty type aftermarket plastics, and the front is actually fully intact and looks to be original. I couldn't find any VIN or any plate on here, so I had to look at the VIN to get the information on the year. Usually there's a plate on the steering stem that shows the model year and stuff. It's actually down here, but it's completely worn away. Let me see if I could show it to you. Couldn't tell. Yeah, it doesn't really give you a whole lot because the plate's worn off here, but I was looking for that originally to see what year it was, but had to go by the VIN, and according to the VIN, this is a 79. So it's all there. I'm gonna get this carburetor out, I'm sure, to get that cleaned up. Looks like there's supposed to be a chain guard or something on here that maybe got broken off. Looks like the bolt might have got broke off in there and snapped this down here too. But it doesn't look like there's any case damage, which is good. It does have pretty decent compression when I kick it over. Didn't get any oil down the spark plug hole yet, so I'm just gonna kick it over slow. But it's nice and smooth too, so really don't think this is gonna need a whole lot. But we'll dig into it and find out what it needs. Engine looks to be in pretty good shape too on the outside, just your normal wear and tear on the paint, and the got a nice built-in skid plate here with these bikes. This one doesn't look like it took too many big hits, so that's good. Could probably use some paint on the exhaust and just a little dent here. And it looks pretty good, so it doesn't look like it was abused that much. Looks like we might have some. Hopefully these aren't torn all the way through. When I get the carb off, I'll look and make sure that the boots aren't ripped there. This one looks to be in good shape. So we'll check for spark first. Check the airbox before we really start kicking it over. The 200 had a little mouse nest in the airbox, so very likely this one could too, because they're sitting right next to each other. So we'll get this off of there and get into the airbox before we do anything. The brakes seem to work. Back brake, not a whole lot of slop to that, and nothing's frozen up there, so that's good. Up on the controls, we got front brakes. Throttle's not stuck. We got some tape cover in the throttle housing here. That still seems pretty smooth. Still got the trip odometer. Looks like aftermarket bars with a zip tied on handlebar pad. And we're gonna need a clutch cable. That's missing. Kill switch, and it looks like somebody wired in possibly high beam, low beams for this thing. I don't think that's factory. It doesn't look factory. We got a lot of wire spliced together here. It looks like I'll have to go through all that. Actually, it doesn't look spliced together. They're using the correct harnesses, but not sure why those are exposed there. But yeah, it looks like maybe either an on and off switch, or actually that's probably what it is. I don't think it's high-low beams. It's probably just turning the light off and on. Rims are in good shape. Still has a sticker on there. And it looks like they got covers or stickers over the forks. So we're gonna dig into all that. Like I said, just the basics, get it going. And I don't think it's gonna need much. So we'll get this thing going and eventually in the woods again. So let's get started. All right, first thing I'm going to do is get this spark plug up out of here, and we'll get some oil down the spark plug hole before we start kicking it over looking for spark. And luckily I have this tool that came with the bike. I think this is came in the original tool bag with this thing. The original owner had it tied up on a bag on the handlebars. I don't know if there's a compartment on here somewhere that maybe the tools would go. I'll have to find that if there is, but spark plug remover looks like a multi-tool for this bike, so that should come in handy. Let's see, I'm guessing I want this one. Yep. Fits perfect. Get a look at how this thing was running before it was parked. It looks brand new. All right. I'm wondering if someone was trying to get this thing to run. They threw a plug at it. Okay, we're gonna get some oil down in that spark plug hole, and then we'll give it a couple kicks. Give it a few kicks by hand. Like I said, this thing, I don't think it's been sitting all that long. So it's not like it's been sitting outside and there's rust on the cylinder walls or anything. So I think we're all good there. So let's try for some spark. Get this positioned so you can see it. I'll zoom you in. And we're gonna see what happens here. We got good spark. Well, that's a good start. All right, next I'm going to get the air box opened up, and I was looking behind here, and it actually looks like it's up under the seat, so I won't have to tear this off. I'm just going to get the seat out of the way, so it looks like it's one of those deals where it comes in from the top. So get this out of the way and find out. It looks like we got 12 here. The other side looks like a different bolt, so hopefully this isn't all boogered up. This looks like it's halfway on. Wasn't even on there that tight. Just hooks on there, I see. This is definitely the wrong bolt because we got 3 nuts on there. These are spacers. Not sure what that was about. Seat's in really good shape on this thing. Seat cover's only got this little tear right here, and everywhere else it's pretty solid. All right, it gives us access to the airbox lid. And this just appears to have been sitting on top of here. I don't see any fasteners. on there, or see how that's supposed to be held on there. That's supposed to come off of there. It's supposed to be held on there. It was just kind of sitting up top. There, finally, jeez. I wonder if there's clips or something missing. I'll have to look that up, but filter seems to be pretty decent shape too. It's not disintegrating. As I say that, it actually is falling apart. Looks like we just have a screw right there holding that on. We'll get this filter out. I don't want that falling apart and getting sucked. Oh yeah, it's coming apart real easy. Look at that. Yep, we're gonna need a filter. We'll get this up out of the way before any of that other stuff gets sucked into the carburetor. So there's a cotter pin on there. And does that just pop off? Yep. Just like that. How are you supposed to get that out of there? Oh boy. Yeah, it's just falling apart on me here. It's just coming apart. Sheesh. Look at that. It's like yellow batter cake. Need a vacuum down there and suck up all that stuff. Yeah, it looks like an old school car air filter. That would sit on top of a carburetor. Yeah, it's just completely disintegrated. Got the cage out, so I'm assuming it's probably just a foam filter that will fit over top of this. And then this just gets pushed up against the airbox with the little cotter pin that fits in here and holds it all together. So off to eBay I go to find a filter. All right, next up I'm going to try to get the carb off. I'm going to be very ginger when I remove this just because of this boot here. Looks like it's kind of torn up already. And I'm going to get some heat on there, put a heat gun to it to try to soften it up a little bit more. So when I do pull this back, it's not going to rip it. This side seems pretty soft still, but I'm still going to heat it up just to make sure. Let's get these bands off here first, but I'm going to disconnect the fuel line, and inside of the tank here looks pretty clean. It is a plastic tank, so I do see the top of the petcock there. I don't know if it's going to focus or not in there for you, but that looks like the filter that's on the top of the fuel petcock is just bouncing around in there. But everything else looks pretty clean. Just a little bit of fuel down there that you can kind of see. So there's really nothing in there. So we're just going to unhook the fuel line and drain whatever comes out, and then get some heat to these boots and try to get the carburetor out without ripping them. Okay, let's get this screw loosened up. Got a feeling I'm going to be repairing this one because I was looking those up online, and they're not exactly easy to find. The couple that I saw were priced ridiculously brand new NOS parts, and there's not many of them, so probably end up trying to patch it up in the meantime if I can't find anything at a decent price. Okay, there's the carb. I can hear there's gas in there still. So unfortunately, this was torn on the other side. I'll show you here in a second. It was already ripped open, and the band was actually covering up the split in there. So I'll end up patching this, I think, until I can find a new one. Just because, like I said, they're kind of hard to find on eBay, and the new old stock ones are going for over $160 from what I saw. Here's a closer look at that rip that's in this thing already. So I'm going to leave that alone for now, and I'll just try to patch that, I think. Looks like it's mainly just on this one side. Got a little bit on that other side too, but the worst of it's right here. I should be able to patch that and make it work in the meantime. I'm going to get this carb opened up, see what we're working with here on the inside. Judging by looking at all this, it's pretty clean. The inside here, I think there's fresh gas. It doesn't smell too bad from the stuff that's coming out. Doesn't have that varnishy smell to it. So let's get this cracked open. That's too big. Let's see what we're working with here. Oop, yeah, we got gas coming out. This is the biggest carb I've had to work on yet. That opening is huge compared to some of the other bikes I've had. There we go. Try to save that gasket. Ooh, we got a lot of gas in there. All right, didn't rip the gasket. That's good. Okay, it doesn't look too bad. We got a little bit of junk in the bottom, but at least the fuel is not gelatin. Looks like the float valve is working okay. Let's get that out of the way here. That's an interesting little clip that goes on there. Okay, I guess that just sits right on there and holds that in from completely falling out, maybe. I don't know. And we'll get that main jet off of there. So I think that says 25 on that jet. I really can't read it. It's a little bit worn out. Not gonna worry about that for now. Get that pilot jet out of there. It does not look clogged up. Maybe through that passage it does. Can't really see light through there. Oh, there it is. We're clear on that one too. Looks like the pilot is a 37.5. So really it's just a little bit of junk at the bottom of this carburetor. My guess is that petcock filter that's just bouncing around in there really wasn't filtering anything because it was at the bottom of the tank. So probably let in some junk that's accumulated in here over time. Nothing bad though, really. I don't think I need to run this through the ultrasonic, so I'd probably just spray it down and put it back together and get some fuel to it. Almost forgot to check how many screws out the air screw is. I'm going to take this out, but we're going to screw it all the way in to stop. Oh, we're only like a half, maybe 3/4 of the way out from full stop. So that's full stop. We were only about there, so yeah, about 3/4. Get that out of there. A little crusty. I should clean that out. Putting that back in, I think I'm going to start with the typical 1.5 turns out. So that's full stop. So we're going to do 1.5. We'll see how that works. Okay, we're all put back together, cleaned up, getting ready to throw this back on the bike. However, first, like I mentioned, I'm going to go try to put a seal on that that boot that goes from the carburetor to the cylinder. It's kind of torn up, so I'm going to use this here just as a temporary thing. This is not intended to be a fix in the long run for that thing. Like I said, I'm going to try to look for that part, but in the meantime, just to seal it up, I'm going to use this Forma gasket, Permatex stuff that's resistant to gasoline. So I got the part cleaned off over there already, and I'm just going to apply a thin coat of this right now. So I'll show you that part too. Just want to reiterate again, this is not intended to be a fix for the long term. This is just to get me by, to seal it up and get it running here for a little while. And I'm going to be on the hunt for one of these parts. So you can see right here, it's pretty ripped, and just asking for an air leak if I don't do anything about that. So I'm going to put a thin coat of this stuff on and let her dry up, and then I'm going to put the we'll throw the carburetor back on there. So just temporary. that side should be pretty good. I can move over to the other side here and do the same because it's got a little bit of a split on that side too. Let's make sure we got enough cover in the cracks that are on there. All right, so I'm just gonna let that set up and get a little harder, and I'll throw the carb back on with the band and everything, and we should be good. That stuff goes on pretty thick, and I've used it for other stuff in the past. It's still holding up, so that should get me by for a little while until hopefully I can find that piece when it's not ridiculously priced on eBay. So maybe at Vintage Days I'll find one, but that should work. We'll get the carb in there. And I think we're just about ready to get it, trying to get it fired up here already. So, yeah, I just gotta let that set up, and then it's time to give it a few kicks. I was also able to get the fuel petcock off and fish the filter out of the tank with a piece of wire. So it looks like it's just gonna slide right back into place here. And this is in good shape still, so I could reuse it. So I'll just pop that in and throw this back together before we put that carb on. Just gonna put a little bit more heat to these things before I put the carb back on. This one's already pretty soft. This one, since it's ripped and repaired, I just want to make sure that it's as soft as possible when I go to put that in there, just so it doesn't rip anymore. I also got a real thin layer of grease on either end of this, just so it slips in there a little easier. So let's give it a go. So before I start this up, I'm just going to double check the oil in here. I know you don't really need the transmission oil to run, but it does lubricate the bearings and stuff. So before we get it fired, I'm going to make sure we got some in here. And this one doesn't have a dipstick, so I'm just going to use a piece of a zip tie just to see what kind of oil condition we got going on here. And there is oil in there, but that looks pretty dirty, so I'm just going to drain it out. We'll put some new stuff in before we fire it up. Use a 21 socket. I'm going to dump a fresh 900 cc's worth of new oil in there. All right, now it's time for some fuel. I got some freshly mixed 40 to 1. I'm going to throw in the tank. All right, I think I'm gonna give it a couple kicks over, see if we can get it to fire up. Keeping in mind I don't have a air filter in there yet. It still doesn't come in the mail, but I just want to see if it'll pop over. At least know it'll fire up. I'm pretty positive that it will, but I just want to hear it. So let's give it a try. gas is on. Not seeing any leaks. Choke it. Alright, well, she runs. Gonna need warmed up a little bit there, but she runs. And as always, I smoke my house out when I do this, so I'm gonna pull this over by the door, and I'm gonna see if I can let it run a little bit longer. And it died as soon as I took it off the choke, so it probably just needs warmed up, hopefully. And you know, I went through that carb and everything was clean, so don't think it's the pilot jet or anything, unless something got lodged in there when I put it back together, which is entirely possible. But we're gonna pull it over by the door, and we're gonna let this run a little bit longer. It sounds pretty good. Once I let it warm up, it's able to idle on its own. Keeping in mind there's no air filter again, so it's going to throw off the air-fuel mixture a little bit. But without it having a filter, it's idling nice. This thing is loud. Pretty smoky too at 40 to 1. The manual calls for 20 to 1, which is even more rich of a mixture there with oil. So I can't imagine how smoky that would be. She sounds pretty good. I can't ride it yet because I don't have the clutch cable just yet. I don't think I have any air leaks around here. Sounds pretty good. We got lights too. So the switch, unless it actually is a high-low beam, it's only got high beams right now. I think I see this is actually a factory. I think I saw this in a couple pictures with some other bikes. So that's actually a factory switch. Yep, sounds pretty good. Shut her down here. All right, well, just as I suspected, this wasn't going to take much to get it going, and it's running really nice from what I can tell so far. Obviously, I can't ride it yet to see how it shifts, but yeah, I'm not expecting any issues there either. It was another easy one to get going. It's 2 in a row now for me with the XR200 and this one, which were both actually in the same package deal. So I'm sure the next bike I'm going to work on is going to be a lot more difficult to get going. So two nice ones in a row is pretty good for a change. So next video, I am going to be putting the clutch cable on, and also a friend of mine online, he was very nice to reach out to me, is sending me the intake boot between the carburetor and the cylinder head. He's working on a couple PE250s that he had extra parts left over, so luckily he has one that's in good shape. So I bought that from him. He's sending it to me, so probably in the next video I might put that on. Just kind of keep an eye on this, see if it develops any cracks on there after that that sealant, if it gets hard. But I mean, it's already set up and cured. So I'll just keep an eye on it. I will replace that at one point with the one that my friend Brendan sent me. So Brendan, if you're watching, thank you. I really appreciate that. And we'll get that part thrown on when I get it. And once I'm ready to get it in the woods, probably before that, we'll throw it on there just to make sure we're good and complete. So other than that, just the clutch cable, really. That's all I'm going to need. The tires are holding there. These are older tires. They're kind of rock hard. But I'm just going to leave them on there for a first ride in the woods. I'm not planning on doing anything nuts with it off the bat. Just want to give it a shake down, make sure everything holds together. The brakes seem okay. Everything's pretty solid there. Not a whole lot of slop in the brake pedal. Nothing's hanging up. So that's pretty much it. Stay tuned for the next one, guys. Like I said, probably going to be riding it and give it a shake down in the woods. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Thanks for watching.